Harry's Wife, part 103.19. She has fallen far. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Our Antipodean cousins from Dan Ander are known for many things. But here are some things that you might not know about that great nation. The Australian Alps get more snow than the Swiss Alps. 90% of Australians live on the coast. Tasmania has the cleanest air in the world. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest ecosystem in the world. Australia has over 60 separate wine regions. Fraser Island is the largest sand island in the world. Indian Pacific Train has the longest straight section of train track in the world. The Great Ocean Road is the world's largest war memorial. 80% of the animals there are unique to Australia. For instance, you won't find kangaroos anywhere else. 2.5 kilometres of Uluru is underground. Now, some of you might know those things, but I imagine most of you won't. But here's something that many of you do know about good old Australia, is that the Australians are straight shooting. They don't suffer fools gladly. They don't take any crap, and they call it as they see it. And more power to them, I say, in that regard. And channeling that, it's Daniela Elsa, with an article from news.com.au which tells us dismal numbers that show Harry's wife's unpopularity. Yes, here is a woman that was a D-list, if being generous, actress on a cable show that she's never shut up about since. She ran a moderately successful blog, purloining other people's experiences and passing them off as her own. And then, as a consequence of her narcissism driving her into social climbing, she got extremely lucky. She ensnared the Prince of Pink Pancakes, he of the Ginger Bollocks. And then she was catapulted onto the front pages of newspapers and websites all around the world, with the attendant fuel that came with that, the character traits and residual benefits. Her narcissism ultimately did damn good. As I've explained many times, her narcissism propelled her into that position, but rather than cement the position, to embrace the institution and make it work for her, as some narcissists will do, more about that on other occasions, she fought it and lost. Not in her mind, of course, because she asserted control by withdrawal and retreated across the ocean to Canada and then California, yanking the leash and taking old Ginger Bollocks with her. She thought that she could stand on her own two cloven feet, that she could therefore merch every opportunity, and, as a consequence of threat, pity play, and pelters, that the royal family would give her what she wanted, because after all, as Harry once said, what Harry's wife wants, Harry's wife gets. But she's been falling, and she's falling far, and her downward spiral continues. This person that thinks she's some kind of empathic angel, her wings have become set on fire as a consequence of being an habitual liar. And the heady position that she once held, she is plummeting from, going downwards in a death spiral, if you will. As her unpopularity increases, more and more people see her for the liar that she is. More and more people find whatever comes out of her mouth to be unbelievable and errant nonsense. And as ever, we can rely on our good chums, the Aussies, to set it straight also. Daniela Elsa writes, sometimes, writing about the royal family can take an intrepid writer to some strange places, like spending the early morning hours Googling 4-star hotels in Indianapolis, United States. But then again, who would have ever thought that a one-time senior member of the royal family, King Charles III's daughter-in-law, and a bona fide duchess to boot, was ever going to end up on the Indiana Hotel ballroom stage as some mid-tier accounting manager with a bad PowerPoint. Ooh, zinger. But there, On November the 29th, Harry's wife, Duchess of Sussex, will be at the Indianapolis Marriott downtown, where she will be hosting a The Power of Women event for the Women's Fund of Central Indiana. The Water and Sewer Distributors of America will be hosting their get-together the week earlier at JW Marriott, in case you are wondering. Well, one might say that she's in good company there. Now, the Women's Fund of Central Indiana has quite the pedigree, with former First Lady Michelle Obama speaking at their event in 2018. However, here's the rub. When FLOTUS took to the stage, the Women's Fund event was held at an indoor arena and to a sold-out audience of 13,000 people. And Harry's wife, the largest capacity of a conference space at the Indianapolis Marriott downtown is 2,500 people. Oh yes. Harry's wife, of course, thought that she'd be filling the stadiums, that she would be there walking onto a stage to raucous electronic dance music, lights flashing, the crowd roaring approval to her, as opposed to people being corralled and undoubtedly her own charity purchasing tables at the event to make it seem like people want to attend. As we know, when she appeared at the Bridgewater Hall in Manchester at One Young World Summit, it was declared that various students were paid to attend, and indeed we all heard the American man in the audience yelling, "Let's go," whether that was a reference to "Let's Go Brandon" or that he was just there as an audience rouser. It was clear that most people have no real enthusiasm for her, and there has to be these plants in order to make her seem more popular than she actually is. Returning, of course, to Daniela Elsa's article, clearly the expectations about what sort of crowd Harry's wife will pull are not even vaguely in the same ballpark or even indoor arena as that of Michelle. Unfortunately, as the time-worn cliché goes, numbers don't lie. And for Harry's wife, it's been a pretty bumpy week on the numbers front. First, there was this Indianapolis news which brings with it the less than flattering comparisons to Michelle's pulling power. And then secondly, there is the video that was released by Variety last week in conjunction with her appearing on the front cover of the Hollywood Bible. It's 4.5 minutes of Harry's wife talking about making a solid bolognese sauce, her love of Scrabble, and helping women in the industry, very similar to the one filmed for previous Variety cover star Ana de Armas. But the numbers, oh boy. Look away now if you happen to be drinking your tea out of a Harry and Harry's wife official wedding china mug. At the time of writing, Harry's wife's video has 2,600 likes, and based on numbers from the Return YouTube Dislikes extension, 18,000 thumbs down. We think somebody's been watching my videos. De Armas, by contrast, has 7,300 likes and 311 dislikes. Another slam against Harry's wife by demonstrating her unpopularity. The article continues, like an inverse Sally Field, the internet doesn't like her. They really don't like her. I'm not sure where or when it happened precisely, but at some point between the gates of Frogmore Cottage and doors of the Indianapolis Marriott downtown ballroom, the great Megxit dream would seem to have cratered. In those heady days, in early 2020, post the Great Windsor divorce, it seemed all but dead certain that Harry's wife would rise from the ashes of her royal career like a Proenza Schuyler-wearing phoenix and ascend to the highest heights. She would be Mother Teresa. Well, I don't think you really want to be her. Diana, Princess of Wales, well done Daniela, and Beyoncé rolled into one, changing lives and helming her own brand of 21st century activism. Just as an aside, it would seem to me that Harry's wife brand of activism should really be called talkivism, because that's all she ever does. I would imagine with activism it involves acting, and she doesn't. But more than 1,000 days on from Megxit, the reality of Monty Shitshow, Harry's wife, is dispiritingly far from that scenario. Unfortunately, the brand of feminism that the former Suits star has reliably wheeled out is largely performative. Take last week, when she appeared at an internal Spotify event wearing a t-shirt that read in Farsi, "Women, Life, Freedom," the rallying cry of the unbelievably brave women currently protesting in Iran. The demonstrations were sparked by the death in custody of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini after she was detained by authorities for allegedly breaking headscarf rules. At least 222 people have been killed, according to the BBC. Now, let me stop there and point out that Kate, Princess of Wales, and the royal family as a whole have done or said exactly nothing about what is going on in Iran, to their serious discredit. While the issue is technically political, unless Buckingham Palace is worried about upsetting some bearded mullahs whose beliefs about women belong in the 7th century, then it is reprehensible they have not spoken out. At least Harry's wife has made some sort of gesture, but it's just that, a largely empty gesture. What is going on in Iran? This is exactly the sort of political moment where I would love to see Harry's wife take the lead, to come out after some impassioned public support, using the biggest media megaphone she can find, and then ponying up a big check to support, say, the Iranian American Women Foundation, or the Women's Committee of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. If she really wanted to stir things up a bit, she could rally, say, Beyoncé and Kim Kardashian to follow suit too. Something along these lines would be a perfect alignment of the 41-year-old's global celebrity and her values. A political moment, meet Harry's wife. And instead, she wore a T-shirt. Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi can probably sleep easy tonight. Again, at least she did something, but she could do so much more. And as an aside, this is entirely demonstrative of her narcissism, that if it can achieve what it wants to achieve, i.e. the prime aims with a minimum of effort, it will. Something many people don't seem to understand. Returning to the article, the same criticism can be held to her approach to the overturning of abortion protections when the Supreme Court threw out Roe v. Wade, which saw her take part in a Vogue Q&A with Gloria Steinem, and then never mentioned the fact more than 20 million women now don't have safe access to abortion in the US. Again, as an aside, with Harry's wife, it's, a bandwagon, I'll jump on it, ride it for a while, and then get off when it becomes more difficult to continue to stay on it. The article continues. These are pivotal moments that could be real turning points for tens of millions of women. Moments just begging for a person with the resources, contacts list, and media nous of someone like the Duchess of Sussex to step up and to lead. Maybe, just maybe, Harry's wife has been spending all this time working on some world-shaking, history-making plan, but so far there has been no sign of that. If the Duchess had hoped that her Archetypes podcast series, which has seen her explore a number of gendered archetypes, their stereotypes, with celebrities including Serena Williams, Mariah Carey, Constance Wu, and Paris Hilton. But if Spotify, which is paying her and husband Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, somewhere between $32 and $4.8 million for their exclusive talents, had assumed they would have a surefire hit on their hands, then I have some very bad news. Overall, the series might be coming in the 4th spot in the US, but only the Bimbo episode from last week of all 7 Archetype episodes released so far is even in the top 100 list. Somehow, despite a 28-person podcast team, considerable resources, and once having had Michelle Obama's number, she interviewed her for the Forces of Change issue of Vogue in 2019, Harry's wife has largely failed to crack the feminist big time. As an aside, the reason for that is she isn't one. She thinks she is one, she talks about it, but doesn't actually do anything. The article continues, not only that, she has become a deeply polarising figure, as the variety video numbers make painfully clear, who generally now only makes news when she talks about herself, not for her humanitarian work, and who, despite everything, still can't attract anywhere near the sort of crowds as Michelle Obama. As the former White House resident herself once said, success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's lives. Daniela Elsa's article highlights how Harry's wife has fallen from expecting that she would fill out arenas to basically going out to the Midwest and talking to undoubtedly going to be some very bored people at a small conference centre in a hotel. It also, of course, bemoans the fact that she's failed to actually have an impact when she had the opportunity to do so. We, of course, as a consequence of my work, know full well why that is. She isn't interested. All she's interested in, subconsciously, is asserting control over those around her, either benignly or malignly, drawing fuel from them, gaining character traits and those residual benefits. And a narcissism wants to achieve all of those things the easiest way that it can. So that doesn't mean any hard slog of rolling sleeves up and actually doing some physical labour, sinking wells in Africa, or marching for miles in order to get to deserted places and really getting amongst it, off camera, away from everybody, away from luxury, doing some real good. It means sitting in a $14 million, 47,000 flushing toileted, bathroomed, ghastly house, spouting nonsense in Zoom calls, having photo shoots down at the local country club, and wanking on about how wonderful she is, and trying to put pay to all of the people that ever criticised her through the Arsey Wipes podcasts. Once again, her behaviour is laid bare, and it demonstrates that she really has fallen so far from where she once was, and she will continue to fall. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.